Fit for Life Radio. Today we have special guest Madeline Klajnbart.
Damn.
Hello.
I thought you were going to say I was a special guest.
Nah, you're a normal guest.
Damn. Okay.
There's nothing special about us.
That's true.
Um, and if you go back, I went back. Madeline was on episode 7.
Dang.
Yeah.
I knew it was a while ago, but I didn't know it was like that far.
So she's making her return.
Damn. OG.
I'm
Round
back.
And this time we are going to be diving in on circadian rhythms. And I know that's something that you're passionate about and ties into, especially with like the holistic health and a lot of things. So yeah, are you excited to dig in on all things circadian rhythm?
I will take advantage of any conversation that lets me talk about this.
Sir, can I talk to you about the sun?
Yes, please.
You're just checking out at like Wendy's and you just start going on about circadian rhythm.
Yes.
Have you guys been outside yet today?
It's kind of where I'm at. Yep. I am that person.
So I'll start with a general overview and my thoughts, and then we'll dive into your thoughts, and then just things people can do or take into consideration, because it's can be overwhelming for people. But essentially, circadian rhythms. So it's like the ebb and flow of our really kind of hormones and what makes us fall asleep and wake up, and it's really all based off of light and the sun. That's going to be the strongest factors. Nutrition can play a factor as well. That's why like there's lots of studies on where, if you're a night shift eater and you eat at night, is probably not the best thing when it's dark out. But in general, the sun rises, it wakes us. We have cortisol that starts releasing, that kind of is a stress hormone that gets us going. And then, at night when the sun starts to set, we normally release melatonin, which is a sleep hormone. It helps us fall asleep. And that's how we've always been. Now you fast forward to 2021 and people struggle with, there's lots of, disease and health issues. People struggle to sleep, but we also stare at blue light phones all day. We're inside with artificial light all day, and we're getting outside less than ever. And if you step back and say, man, what could be a solution to all these problems, a broad bird's eye view, something that stands out to me is again, pretty much like I just said, we are outside less than ever and inside more than ever. And when we are outside, we're normally slathered in sunscreen and wearing sunglasses all the time. So we're, again, blocking the sunlight. And people have to realize that sunlight, a lot of people think of sunlight and they just think vitamin D, and that's like the only thing. But the reality is, no, there's a whole spectrum of rays, and it's a nutrient, so we need to get that also into our eyeballs. And that's a big factor. It's not just about, getting a tan and vitamin D.
Preach.
So ultimately people
Long story short.
you're asleep, or you just struggle, you have no energy. Something to take into account is your circadian rhythm and getting sunlight. And then, what we'll dive into is, how to do that, what that looks like. But you want to share kind of just your thoughts, maybe how you got passionate about the subject and.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll through my own health journey, I kind of came to this point where this light bulb went off in my head that like, I'm making this a lot harder than it needs to be. The fact is, we have this circadian rhythm. It's basically a free way to feel better. If we will just take our cues from the sun and the moon cycle, it really doesn't have to be difficult. Our circadian rhythm is our internal clock. And these biological processes run off of the sun and the moon.
Mm-hmm. So the moon's an interesting one too. I'm not as familiar with, that, but what would you say? So when you kind of simplified or really dove into this, what change did you maybe make and then notice benefits from right away?
Okay, so basically, the darkness after the sun sets and the moon rises, the darkness is what signals the melatonin release. So all of these biological processes kind of work together. Like they're going whether or not we are aware of them. But if we start to live think with this, the benefits are just incredible. I mean, you have a free tool at your fingertips to feel better. Um, so it's as simple as, the sun rises, that's your cue to wake up, and actually viewing the sun with your eyes, that light coming in through your eyes. I heard it explained that your eye sockets are the only holes in your skull that the sunlight can come through. So we're designed that we take in this sunlight through our eyes and it sends the signal to our brain to release that cortisol and start that awakening process. So that gives you that energy surge for the day. And as you continue to view light throughout the day, which you should be doing, Gary, I love your quick walks outside, get cues from the sun, because throughout the day, the sun is giving off different spectrums of light. So that cues our body on what time it is, which also fuels, and we can get into that a little later. But as the sun sets and the light spectrum changes, when it gets dark, that's what triggers the melatonin. That's what makes us sleepy. That's what helps us get deep, restful sleep at night.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people end up depending on supplement. They take melatonin. They're familiar with melatonin as a supplement. They don't even realize it's, a real thing that our body's supposed to produce.
Exactly. You have it already. Just like
Yep.
the vitamin D, you don't need to supplement. Well, I mean, I'm not your doctor, but
yeah, if you get enough sunlight, and then you just shouldn't ever need to supplement with it. But
yes,
it happens.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's where I guess the argument can be made of priorities, right? And people, we should be getting some sunlight and vitamin D and not need to supplement. So it's really, how can you find time in your day? And for a lot of people, it's just not important enough, or we don't realize that it is. So then that's where you develop, lifestyles where you're never outside, and then you lose touch with these sun and moon signals, night and day, and then you end up to where you can't fall asleep. You're up till midnight, struggling, trying to rely on, melatonin and supplements, and that's not going to work.
And then caffeine to wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Which so you're kind of supplementing the cortisol response or amplifying it, and then you end up depending on it.
Yeah. I will say though, it's something that, these are small habits, small changes that you can make. It only takes 2 to 3 days to reset your internal clock. And going outside, you only need, depending on how bright the sun is, cloud cover, things like that, where you are, 2 to 10 minutes. So in the morning, what I love to tell my clients, and really anybody that'll listen, when
the guy at Wendy's.
Yeah, exactly. When you wake up in the morning, within the first hour, just try to go outside. Just try. I mean, if it's taking your lemon water in the morning, your coffee, your tea, whatever, just outside on your front porch or your back porch. Like I said, all you need is 2 to 10 minutes. Anybody can do that. If that means you need to wake up 3 minutes earlier, I think, that's not asking a whole lot. So this is really a simple habit change that could make a huge difference, because even getting that early morning sunlight also sends the signal 12 to 14 hours later, approximately, to release melatonin later in the day. So just sunlight, if you just start there, give it a couple days, I guarantee you will see a difference.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people experience it, right? When they go on vacation or something, everyone goes to the beach for a week. They're like, I got the best sleep ever. And,
Exactly.
and for the most part, it's like, well, you're probably outside. You probably went for a walk, watched the sunrise. Again, outside more, getting some vitamin D. And yeah, I mean, you don't, necessarily know that's what's happening. You just think it's a relaxation and all this stuff. But the reality is it's a lot of these effects with sunlight.
Yeah, spending more time outside. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that.
And so, yeah, I think, like you said, if, 10 minutes, around, sunrise, 7 a.m. while it's going up, and then 10 minutes on your lunch break to go outside and get, your arms and just a little bit of your skin exposed to midday sun, when you produce vitamin D. So that's 20 minutes a day that can literally be the difference of you sleeping like a baby or struggling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So if people do that, there's a lot of benefits. It's like say with the walk, or if someone just does 1 or 2 strength workouts a week, people just need to find the minimum effective dose, and it can make, you don't have to flip your whole lifestyle upside down and become a surfer and be outside. Yeah. So, I mean, you can if you want, but
it's a good life.
Well, and it's funny, we joke about it, but how there's the stereotype of how surfers are, and a lot of it probably has to do with all this stuff,
Yeah, they have like really good circadian rhythm. They get plenty of vitamin D.
Yep.
They get magnesium from the water. They just feel great.
Yeah,
and you could
chill.
look at them and see that they're healthy.
Yep.
Yeah. Usually like great skin, great teeth, just overall look great.
And that's we'll kind of lead into that. So this will be a little more controversial, and people can research on their own, but there's the sun's become the bad guy a lot, and we're taught if you're going to walk to your car, like you need to slather yourself in sunscreen. But again, the reality is skin cancers and everything are rising and rocketing up. But in the last 50, 70 years, it's the most we've ever been inside and the least we've ever been outside. So it just
been hiding from the sun.
Yeah. And when you start looking, you see a lot of the stuff on how, when you're in that early day and late day sun, which is mostly infrared light, that actually helps precondition your skin for the sun. It helps, restore it. It's getting popular for beauty stuff. Well, that's, you don't need an infrared light to do that lamp. Like, you can go outside and get it. And, there's a lot to that. And, if you avoid the sun all the time and then you only go out, oh, it's summer vacation, I'm going to go out in the middle of the day to the beach for 5 hours, and you get burnt, that's the problem, right? But that, we shouldn't be doing it that way. We, ideally be outside more, and you build a tan and just expose yourself to what you need based off of your skin type.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really glad having this conversation, because a lot of people don't know. I mean, we have been conditioned to think that we have to wear sunscreen every single day. Time and place for it if you're using the right type of sun. Using, like a safe mineral sunscreen if you're out in the middle of the day, if you're like at the beach and you're in the sun when it's up in the sky. Yeah, exactly. High in the sky. There's a time and a place for it. But people really have been scared to think that they can't walk outside without lathering sunscreen on them. And kind of the way I like to think about it is I'm at a point here where I don't want to block out nature. I don't want to block out nature by putting on sunglasses, by lathering myself in sunscreen. I really believe that optimal health is achieved in a life that's as close as possible to nature. So just kind of taking that into consideration, taking some of the fear out of it and starting slow. Now, I do think that people do burn easily, and that can be an inflammation problem, which I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and get into this whole conversation, but there's a time and place for sunscreen. But I want to kind of get the message out there that, having the sun hit your skin and in your eyes. Obviously, don't look directly at the sun, but have the sunlight coming into your eyes. The benefits of that far outweigh whatever, people have been scared of.
And really what we always say, this is for a lot of things with eating, beyond satiety and everything, but if you listen to your body, it gives you the answers.
Absolutely.
And think about it, you can step out in the sun and everyone knows this, and man, when it hits you and it feels good and it feels warm, but then eventually you start, if you stay long enough and you start to burn, that's an unpleasant feeling, right? So the answers are right there. Like a little bit's good, you feel good, and when it doesn't feel good, get out, right?
Yeah, sunburn is a mechanism to keep you safe. Absolutely. Yeah, if you'll just listen to your body.
And I think the problem nowadays is everything's so polarizing, and it's hard for people to wrap their head around. So I just had a post yesterday about water intake, right? Like, you can die from too much water, drinking too much water. So people have to understand that for most stuff, there is such a thing as too little is bad and too much is bad. And it's trying to find the optimal amount and just not villainizing stuff completely, because that's normally not the answer.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people nowadays don't know how to listen to their body. They've been conditioned out of that. I think a big part of this is, maybe, take a weekend, get off social media, don't, take in anything from the outside, and just try for yourself. Try to learn how to listen to your body and listen to the cues that it's giving you. Even as simple as hunger and wakefulness, sleepiness. We get so many messages. And I just always encourage people to just slow down a little bit, take a little time, and you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, Will and I have talked about this before, and unfortunately, a lot of it starts and is messed up when we're kind of younger, and it's like the clean your plate club, and we start interrupting these natural cues that we have. Another one is this sound TMI, but using the restroom, right? Number two, when you're a kid, or then you start going to school, or you have to work, there's rules and stuff, and maybe you're like, I have to hold this, right? And then that can cause problems.
Yeah, that causes big problems downstream.
Yeah, so you see it with how we eat. Now, a few things we still haven't lost touch with, which is number one, we still have a strong urge for that. And then normally, like thirst, most people can tell, if you're really thirsty or not. But there's a lot of things, that are completely interrupted from childhood.
Absolutely. This is definitely something that, as a parent, I have, I'm thankful to have the opportunity to choose how I do it now that I'm raising two little ones. But that kind of stuff is so important. I mean, as a child, teaching them to listen to their bodies, it's so important.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for example, sometimes I'm sure as a parent, your kid wants ice cream and you buy them ice cream and then they eat half the cone and they're done. It can be frustrating, or you can be like, hey, I bought this, you need to finish it. And you're almost trying to teach them a lesson about, money and stuff. But the reality,
value of things.
The value of things. But then also it's interrupting. Hey, they're full and they don't want any more. You don't want to force them to eat,
Yeah. No, I've had to find creative with how I do that, but I'm more in the camp of, if you want ice cream, sure, eat the ice cream, but let's pay attention to how you feel before you eat the ice cream, and let's pay attention to how you feel after you eat the ice cream, because it's funny how kids will go at a snail's pace eating their vegetables, but then you put ice cream in front of them and they just devour it because they can't stop. And I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we can go down. It's made that way. Our food is being engineered to
make
trick our brains into
hyper-palatable.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just asking those questions. And I mean, even if you don't have kids or whatever, as an adult, you can do those same things with yourself. It comes back to kind of slowing down and going into it with an intention. Nothing wrong with having the treats. I have a crazy sweet tooth, but I like to remind myself, okay, how do I feel right now? How do I feel after I eat it? And sometimes going
Mm-hmm.
into it, I know, okay, this ice cream is going to make me feel terrible afterwards, but I'm going
But
to
if you're okay
enjoy
with
it
it,
anyways. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like I'm an adult, I can make those decisions for
But
myself. But
that's a big part of it, is making the decision, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you made the decision. You didn't let the ice cream or that urge make the decision for you, which is a big distinction, I think, because most people are kind of strung along by, we'll say, stimulation, whether it's like, oh, I want to open up my phone, or oh, I want this treat, and don't really think about like, do I actually want to do this? It's almost like not being, the person making the decision and having it made for you by something else.
yeah.
Yeah. And then also same thing, you tie in, like you said, these typically artificial foods or foods that are combined to taste amazing and then interrupt our signals. That's what's happening with light as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
I
same
like to
thing.
say blue light is the junk food of
Mm-hmm.
light.
I mean,
Yeah.
it really is.
And unfortunately, blue light's what stimulates to our mind. It's daytime. So the problem is nighttime hits, like you said, and then that means sleepy time melatonin. But if you're staring at a bunch of screens emitting blue light, your brain's not getting that signal.
Exactly. I mean, blue light is mostly emitted from the sun during the hours of 11 and 1, which is when we are all, at our highest, energy wise, wakefulness. So when the sun goes down and we're bombarding ourselves with blue light from every angle, yeah, it confuses our brains. It doesn't know what time it is.
Yeah.
Should we be getting ready for the day or should we be getting ready for bed?
So you want to go over, and we mentioned it kind of starts in the morning. If you can get that sunlight into your eyes, that's where it begins. But then what about like nighttime routine? Obviously, most people aren't going to get rid of their electricity and just use candlelight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what is a good way for like a nighttime routine to give someone their best chance, or just to make a progress over perfection, make a little positive step.
Yeah. Small changes. Well, I will give out a couple of resources. So Dr. Huberman, he is a professor at Stanford. He has started a podcast in order, just a way for him to put out information free to anybody that's interested. He has his podcast is called the Huberman Lab. And his first couple of episodes, it just started at the beginning of this year. And his first couple of episodes, he kind of deep dives into like science on this. So if anybody is interested in that, but a lot of the things that he says is pay attention to overhead lights. So if we're thinking about, our ancestors out in nature, when the sun is high in the sky, that signals to your brain that it's daytime. So at night, after the sun sets, dimming lights as much as possible, maybe turning off all the overhead lights, turning on a few lamps, paying attention to the types of light bulbs that are in your lamps too. I know this can be a little, you can take this as extreme as you want. There are plenty of resources out there for you to go, as far out as you want to go.
Sitting at home in your blue light blockers,
So
Always.
staring at your spouse.
Okay, that's are you spying on us? Because me and my husband definitely I bought us some of the red tinted glasses for when we watch movies at night.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
That is another extreme. So there's also Blue Blocks, BLUB. If you search their YouTube channel, he has a video on how to turn your phone screen red. So that's another thing to pay attention to. It's all about the brightness of the light at night. So you want to try to dim the light. So dimming your phone screen. Well, if you want to take it a step further, this YouTube video will teach you how to just create a quick shortcut so that your phone turns like a dark red at night. So it's not emitting any of the blue light, and it just makes it darker. So that's something to focus on. I know it is hard to avoid the blue light at night.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's hard. It really does take some time to switch over to maybe reading a book in your bed at night. If you want to go extreme by candlelight, or a lamp, it's fine.
I've thought about that. Just use candles all the time.
Just old school, 1920s.
But you know what? That sounds expensive, though. You know how quick candles burn, man?
Yeah. I wonder how
we use a lot of candles. Like, we won't have lights on in the house, and we'll just light a candle or something. But man, some of those, like, they burn through like in a day. I'm like, damn, it's 3/4 of the way done.
Yeah.
And that's an expensive habit, man. I don't want to develop a candle habit.
We already
have enough of a candle habit.
An intervention. You have a candle habit.
I think so. Yeah. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, you can go there, sitting by a fire at night instead of watching a movie. But yeah, okay, so pay attention to overhead lights. Try to turn the lights down, dim the lights. And yeah, try to finish out. So I like to kind of say, try to be horizontal in bed around 9:30, and maybe, whatever you want to do. And then try to be in bed by 10:30. So this is the way that our internal clock works. Think of sleep like a train leaving the station. The train leaves the station at 10:30, and you could miss it if you're not on it. And I know it's hard. I know people like to stay up late, but I will say there's a book called Why We Sleep. Matthew Walker, I think, is the sleep expert. And shoot, where was I going with this? I just lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. So only 4% of people are actually like only like 4 hours of sleep or whatever. It's like, people like to say, oh, I'm a night owl, or I like to stay up late. It's, for the majority of people, it's because your circadian rhythm, you're just out of sync.
Yeah.
So if you take these steps to start to sync up, you'll start to see that you're getting tired. You are ready for bed at that 10 o'clock mark.
So now, I'm not completely confident on this, but it's something I read or heard somewhere, and it makes sense. But let me see if you've heard of it. Where and then sometimes people say they get this surge of energy at like 11, or later at night. A lot of what I heard was, when we do kind of hit 11 p.m. around that time, if we are up, our body can start to produce adrenaline, and that's kind of what people are feeling. Have you heard anything like that?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if you're not on the train when it leaves, yeah, around 11 o'clock, you kind of get this second wind. So you
You're gonna
want
wake
to
back up.
be, yeah, so you want to be asleep before that hits. And this is like, yeah, every once in a while, if you're out with your friends or, you have plans to stay up late, that's fine. One night isn't going to throw you off. But we're talking about, and this is the same with, if you're, 80% of the time sticking to, these healthy habits, then it's okay to have, an off
Mhm.
night here and there. It's not going to completely throw you off.
Yeah. And the thing people always overlook and underestimate is because look, I do all these things. I eat very healthy majority of the time. We go to bed at 9 every night and sleep well and do a lot of these circadian rhythm things. And here's the thing: you eventually switch to where you're not just doing this because it's kind of like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do. You feel great, and
Yeah.
you there becomes like this like dial or switch that flips where you actively start choosing these things because of how it makes you feel, and the sacrifices that you had to give up no longer even really compare to the benefits that you're experiencing.
Absolutely. I am 100% with you. I will never go back because of how great I feel. And it affects everything. It affects focus, creativity, motivation, energy. And I don't think it's any secret if you sleep bad at night, you
Yeah.
wake up the next day and you're craving, unhealthy foods.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of waterfalls.
Mm-hmm.
But I am totally with you now that I am in sync and paying attention to these things,
Yep.
these natural rhythms. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll never go back. I feel incredible.
The last, I'll take a little credit for. I know one of the last things that was probably your bugaboo was overtraining. I don't want to say overtraining, but remember I ran into you one time and you mentioned how you just realized you were overdoing it too much, training too often, kind of scaled back your intensity, and it helped a lot with how you're feeling, recovery, and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of found hitting a wall. I had, I have twin boys, and I joined a gym because it had childcare and I needed it. And I needed that workout. And this gym was, I mean, just balls to the wall every day, like high
Mm-hmm.
intensity, that those boot camp style workouts. And I found myself completely hitting a wall. And once again, coming back to like the messages that we're getting from every angle, like
Yeah.
you just need to work harder. If you're not getting the results you want, you need to work harder. And my body much said, you can't go any further. And I found myself in the gym one day, like my legs weren't working and it freaked me out. And so I put my gym membership on hold and I went to the Nolan Trail more. And I was outside slowing down. My body had forced me into it. But let me tell
Mm-hmm.
you, that is the best thing that has happened in my life. I needed that. And especially as women, especially as young moms, I think if
Mm-hmm.
you're in a lifestyle where there is a lot of stress and a lot of things expected of you, the last thing you need to be doing for your body is pushing yourself even harder. You have to have those moments to bring your body, your nervous system down into that parasympathetic mode so that you can listen to your body. When you're going, you can't hear the messages that your body is trying to send to you. Everything kind of goes just
Yeah.
down the tubes.
Preach. Preach.
Yeah. So yeah, slowing down really, really changed my life in a big way. Um, and yeah, and I have been getting more into trying to incorporate some weights, but I kind of went like the opposite direction and just walking and gentle yoga. And at the time, that is what my body needed. That's what my
Mm-hmm.
body
Yeah.
needed. Um, and I'm working my way back up to endurance in other aspects and
There you go.
training. But But yeah, I think it can be a slippery slope, getting caught up in all of the messages that are coming at us from every different direction.
It's hard because that's what you see everywhere. It's like you got to work hard, beast mode. If you're not dying, then you're not going to get results. And
Yeah.
that, dude, that
Even
beats
the,
people up. And even if somebody's like, I feel like I know better, when you hear it every day, you start to question, like, man, am I wrong? Like, is this the only way to do it? And
Yeah,
dude, it messes with your head.
absolutely. I am here to tell you, I am walking proof that doing less can
Yeah,
be
it
the
can help.
answer. It
yeah.
it can be the answer. Doing less is the answer. Coming back to these simple things, taking these simple cues from nature, um, can just it can change your life. I'm here to say.
Yeah. And I think it just takes more people saying that because like y'all just said with the way training is portrayed, it's the same thing with sleeping, right? What you're taught, if especially when you start getting in college and everything, if you need to stay up and study more, you need to, or if you're trying to be an overachiever at work or in your career, staying up all night and doing those kind of things are portrayed as what you have to do. And the reality is, it's the opposite for the most
Yeah,
part.
that's not helpful at all.
Yeah.
This is going to be an anecdote, and I don't know if this was just me being lazy in school, but I think it paid off. I very rarely like crammed and studied very late the night before a test. And I consider myself a good test taker, but the times where I did cram, I feel like I did worse in the time where I got a good night's sleep and said, you know what? Like, I'm just going to go into this. Like, I know what I know. I want to be well rested. I did better on those tests, like through my entire school career. And I was kind of a slacker that lucked into just, I don't know, learning very easily. But yeah, the good night's sleep always trumped cramming no matter what.
Well, that
Hands
makes
down.
sense. That makes sense because your brain digests and assimilates all of the information that it's taken in from the day before while you're sleeping. I mean, there
Exactly.
is so much that happens in your body while you're sleeping. It's hands down the most important thing for your health. You cannot achieve optimal health if you're not sleeping well at night.
So what
Yeah.
you're saying is that you can sleep when you're dead is a bad saying.
Yes, very
Yeah,
bad
sick. Okay,
because you're probably going to die sooner.
exactly. Okay, just confirming for myself and others.
Yes,
So
yes.
you have that tattooed on your forearm.
I gotta go get it removed.
Yeah, you're making a note right now and you're Googling tattoo removal.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to pivot to something that I'm really passionate about as well. And this kind of it kind of plays off of what we were talking about. This whole skipping breakfast thing,
Mm-hmm.
eating less, fasting, intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
all of these messages that we're getting.
Which
So
is like real hot right now.
it is
We're
so hot
hotter
right
than
now.
it's ever
If
been.
we have 10 people ask us about nutrition, 8 ask us about intermittent fasting.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it's everywhere and I mean, even just like, I overhear people talking about it, especially women. And this is where kind of I get passionate. Women are so different from men, and all of the studies on fasting are done on men.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'll just come out and say it. Women are superheroes, because we not only can sync up to this circadian rhythm, um, we also have our own 30-day cycle that we can sync
Mm-hmm.
up with. But physiologically, our bodies are preparing to have a baby every month if that is the case, if that's what happens.
Yeah.
So by starving it and not taking care of it, by doing this fasting on a regular basis, it puts our bodies as women into a stressed state because it needs those nutrients to potentially
Yeah.
grow a healthy pregnancy. So by certain times in your cycle, depriving yourself of food is just the worst thing you could be doing for your body as a woman. But with that being said, our digestion, we digest food at different rates throughout the day, and we take those cues from the sun. So it's just, it can be so simple that our digestion is at its highest when, the sun is higher in the sky. So
Yeah,
as
and
you're, sorry, go
no,
ahead.
you keep going.
So just as, you sync up and your body starts to get tired at night, and you wake up with energy in the morning as you're syncing to your internal clock, you'll see the same thing with your hunger cues. You will wake up feeling hungry and ready for breakfast. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I don't eat breakfast because I'm not hungry in the morning." Well, if you sync up to this natural rhythm, you'll find that you will be hungry when you wake up in the morning. And eating a bigger meal, in the height of the day, and then eating a smaller meal at night. Because another thing about our sleep is, we will not get deep restful sleep if we're eating right before bed. We need a good 2 hours after we eat, so that our body isn't using that energy digesting your food while you're sleeping. It can be using that energy to, repair your cells and,
Yeah.
all of those other important things that happen in your body when you sleep.
Yeah, growth hormone and all that can't release if you're like still digesting and everything. It makes a big difference. And with the intermittent fasting with women, and ultimately comes down to the theme of what we just talked about a lot, is people have to realize it's another stressor,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, and all the benefits that like can be touted normally aren't really to intermittent fasting. Is there's the main benefit is if it's a structure of eating that helps you be consistent, enjoyable, sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
with your total food intake. But the problem is that people want it to be a magic pill, but it's not, and it is a stressor. So yeah, if someone doesn't have much stress, they're not they don't have to diet, so they're eating at maintenance or above, and all these things. Typically, you're younger because you might not have kids, you might not have as much stress at work. Yeah, you can maybe get away with it. That's the best way to put it, especially for women. But then you start factoring all these other things, and if your personality type is just kind of a worrier or overthinker, I've never seen it be that successful. And I know for myself personally, I tried it for a while, did it for a while, and yeah, I would get to where I'm waiting until noon to eat. And I am, a lot like thinker and a little bit of an over stressor, and I would get shaky and lightheaded and just ultimately feel awful. And yeah, so then adding in breakfast fixed all that, right? So yeah, it's one of those things people have to listen to their body and realize that it is another stressor. Can you handle this? And at the end of the day, we need food, and purposely like waiting and starving yourself because you think it's going to be some magic cure is not a smart idea, and not, especially not long term.
Yeah, I love that you said if you're worried about it and you're overthinking it, because I don't think people think about that often, that your state and you're creating this stress, like cheat meals, for example. There are a lot of people that will beat themselves up about, oh my gosh, I can't believe I ate that pizza, I regret eating that pizza. I want everyone to flip that around and enjoy that pizza. If you're not eating it all the time and your diet is healthy 80% of the time, enjoy that piece of pizza. The way that you're feeling about it when you're eating it creates that stress, and your body's going to digest it differently. Your body cannot efficiently digest your food if you're in a stressed state, which
Yeah.
is why counteracting a stressful lifestyle with things that are going to bring your nervous system down into that parasympathetic, that rest and digest state, it's so important. And something as little as overthinking, and making yourself feel bad about
Yeah.
it, that is
Yeah.
creating stress.
And that's one of my biggest pet peeves with this whole, diet scene, and, good and bad is, so, and I've seen that someone could be on a keto diet, so now they've convinced themselves that a carbohydrate is horrible for them, right? Then they'll go eat a carbohydrate and be like, oh, I felt awful, my digestion was horrible, it was the carbs' fault. And it's like, no, if you were eating that stress the entire time that it was gonna spike your insulin and you're going to drop dead, then you're going to have horrible digestion, and it really has more to do with your mental state, not the actual food.
Absolutely.
So that's a whole thing. And I experienced that on my own. It really clicked. And I've shared the story before where I eat pretty similar. Like I have it down. So I'm like what I do. And yeah, so my dinners would normally be like some ground beef and rice. And I always have that and feel great. Well, one day with one of my old gyms, we had an accident at the gym where someone like passed out, and my business partner called me and told me all this. And right before I was about to eat, and then he said, he had it handled. Don't worry about it. Just filling me in. And then I was obviously stressed, and then continued to eat my dinner. And then I had, the stomach pains and this horrible digestion. And I realized, well, I eat this food every night. It's not like, oh, the rice is bad or the, meat is bad. I was just physiologically stressed, and it caused poor digestion.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
That's what people have to realize when they tell themselves a lot of stories, or you kind of hype or psych yourself up about something. Yeah, if you're into intermittent fasting and now all of a sudden you think eating breakfast is going to make you fat, and then you eat breakfast and you have a horrible experience. Well, if you're stressed the whole time eating it, you're not going to feel great. So,
yeah. And I do think that there are benefits for some in fasting. I think it's a tool that can be used. But if it's used in the wrong way, it can be so detrimental. And yeah, if you do it one day, you could feel great. But over time, it's just it can really derail your health in a big way.
And like you said, most people eat from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed, which is a problem too. So shortening the amount of time you're eating, we prefer as a start point that people do just a breakfast, lunch, dinner. Cut out snacking, so you're getting more space and time in between those meals, and it's a little less stressful. But yeah, it's definitely finding that balance. I think what people have to understand with fasting is it's going to, so you have when people feel great when they're fasting, I have so much energy. What happened? Well, your body is like sending out stress hormones and adrenaline because it wants you to go find food. So, the peak spike of energy that you feel and all those things are actually stress hormones and those kind of things, which again, acutely can be good all the time, day after day, month after month, year after year. It's not a great state to be in.
Yeah, exactly. So I've heard it explained like putting clothes into the washing machine, like you're running a wash cycle. And if you keep like thinking about snacking, like if you keep throwing dirty clothes into the cycle while it's running, the clothes are never going to get clean. Mm-hmm. So putting time in between your meals lets your digestion do what it needs to do. And another point I'll bring up is once you start to sync your meals and your digestion with your circadian rhythm, you have a fast. You have a 13, 14-hour fast from dinner to breakfast. There's your fast. And you can do it when your body was designed to be fasting while you're sleeping.
Yep. And so really, if anything, people just need to cut out nighttime eating, and then boom, like you said, there's their fast, So if you stop eating at 6 p.m. and then you wake up even and eat breakfast at 6 a.m., that's 12 hours. And most people it's going to be a little later. So 12 to 14 hours, that's perfect. So, and you're not waiting in the morning to eat, maybe, riding the cortisol wave too long. And so for a lot of people, like we said, similar to before, it's the same thing with fasting, right? Too much can be a problem, just like not enough can also be a problem. The benefit for most people is probably somewhere in the middle. So instead of like 24-hour fast all the time or 16-hour fast all the time, you know what? Maybe about 12 to 14 hours, but which is also better than only not eating when you're sleeping, which for some people is 6 hours, 6, 7, 8 hours. That's probably a little too often. So somewhere in the middle for most people is the answer.
Yep.
Well, all right, Madeline, we appreciate that. And to wrap up, everyone, circadian rhythm, it's important. If you want, you can just go on Naked and Afraid, reset your circadian rhythm.
Or you could do your own Naked Afraid in the woods behind your house if you're into that.
Just tell your neighbors that Fit for Life Radio is trying to set you straight. And they can come talk to us if they have a problem with that. And but remember, don't feel overwhelmed. If you can get out for 10 minutes in the morning, get some sunlight into your eyeballs, and then set up your light environment at home before bed. Those two things can be pretty minor changes, but make a big difference.
They do make a big difference, because I've been doing the morning sun, and I know Gary has too, and it's a game changer for the day.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. So do you got any closing thoughts, Madeline?
Oh, no, I think it was a great conversation. And yeah, I mean, like you said, it's really not hard. I think we tend to make it harder than it really is. I mean, these are very simple, easy, quick changes that, will just make a huge, huge difference in just your overall well-being and how you show up for your life on a daily basis.
Exactly. And that's the thing to remember is we don't just do this to do it and be like wear some badge of toughness. It's you get to a point where you want to do it. You get the benefits, the results, and that kind of wins out over everything else.
Yeah. Everybody wants to feel better. We all want to feel better.
All right. Well, let us know what you think. You can hit us up on social media. Also, Madeline, what's your contact info? I know you do coaching and everything, and you're on Instagram, so you want to share that with everyone?
Yeah. So my Instagram page is rootedinnature.co. And that is also my website. But yeah, I work with clients one-on-one, and then I have a 6-week program that I designed to be a group program that I will do again in the fall. And it basically just gives everyone a 6-week, just like a 6-week period of time to kind of reset and sync up to these natural rhythms, to kind of slowly ease into this kind of new lifestyle by shifting mindset and making these small changes, these habit changes. And yeah, I'll be doing that again in the fall. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram and reach out that way.
Awesome. That'll be, for a lot of people, that's the missing piece. So everyone puts a lot of emphasis on, exactly what foods they're eating and all these things. But yeah, all this lifestyle stuff and circadian rhythm, sleep, it's important. So
yeah, I'm all about taking the stress out of these lifestyle changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then no one gets started or they quit after 2 days.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking time. I know it was kind of funky with travel and you're in an Airbnb and all these different things, but we appreciate you getting on, and we'll do it again.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thanks,
You'll
guys.
be maybe you'll be our first three-timer.
Oh, I like it. I'll be there.
All righty. We'll see you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Will, you got any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, basically just let some sun in your eyes. That's pretty much it.
Until next week.
See ya.
As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.